And I take with me the memory to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I don't know if y'all remember that from Cooley High, but that's one of my topics for the day. That is my topic for the day. I wanted to get into, it's good seeing you, but I'm sorry for the circumstances. It's good seeing you, but I'm sorry for the circumstances. This is the Let's Get To It show, and that's a tool with a U because I always got you in mind. So if you don't mind, let me break it down for you because you ain't never heard nothing like this before. And at the end of the day, it's all for you. It's really all for you. And y'all, my go getters, let's go. Let's go. We back up in this Baltimore. And I am King Sam the Powerful, the biggest hater this side of Texas. I talk reckless. So if y'all want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Matter of fact, y'all can't handle the truth. Court is in session. Court is in session, y'all. Give me one quick second. Let me set this up right quick. Go on my page. That way I can keep up. I can keep up with the chat. Hold on. Let me get this right. Hold on. Let me get this right. I'm a little bit off. Let me get this right. Let me see if I can. Can I do something with this? Can I do something with this? Is that too much light? Hold on. Let me try something, man. Because sometimes you got to try something. You got to get it right on the spot, man. Johnny on the spot. Give me one quick second. Let me take that off. Boom. Perfect. I done took that max light off. Perfect. Perfect. Let me go back to this right here. Hold on. Let me go back to this right here. Let me get this thing right, man. Hold on. Wait. I don't like that. I'm going to keep it at around. Hold on now. What is that? It's faulty water right here. That's faulty water. I'm going to go to 45. Let me see what that do. That's 45 for you. Go up here. Check this out. Turn the sound all the way down. Sound down. Go to that there. Go to that there. Just in case somebody get up in there, I can see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Do that like that. I'm on point, y'all. But woo, it's warm in here. And of course, I'm drinking tea. Let me get this right. Matter of fact, let me turn this up. That's what I'm gonna do. Let me turn this up. I had that thing on low. So now it's up a little bit. Y'all can hear me a little bit better. And we gonna get to it. We gonna get right to it, Yesterday, I had a celebration. My wife, her grandmother, they were celebrating her 100 years on this earth. 100 years, man. That's a long time. That's a long time. And it's like, we got together and we got to enjoy each other's company. And, you seeing people you ain't seen in a while. People coming in from out of state. But, what got me thinking about it is like, I heard somebody say in that instance was like, we usually seeing each other at funerals and stuff. And it's like, one of them situations where, man, I'm glad to see you, but I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. And it just struck me because, I'm trying to build my team up. So, when people come up like with ideas like that and titles like that, I try to build them up. So far on my team, I want to give a big shout out. You got Mario Button. I didn't get to talk to him today. He from Button Boulevards. You got Mario Button. He on all platforms. He got brand consultant. So, usually I tap in with him. Then there's Christopher Terrell Scott. He hailing out of Manassas, Virginia. He coming by way of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I did get to chop it up with him and fine tune what was going on. And I got my main man Jamal Bryan. He a comedian coming out of Portsmouth, Virginia. And he do the content and he work out his material and stuff like that. So he just all around the board. He got a lot going on. And when he keep me posted, I'm gonna keep y'all posted. But keep y'all eyes out for them people. And then I got my cousin Tina. They want to start. So if I can, get them any assistance. And those are the people that's a part of my team. And you got Derek Whitley. We supposed to be in this together. He got a lot of other stuff going on. So, we about to land the ship. I did do an interview with him, but it's not posted. It was just something, it was our first time getting in the studio and kind of creating some content. So, we're going to use that to kind of figure out what direction we want to go. But, that's going to be a whole different discussion where, he a earner. He a go-getter. He a money man out here, And I wanted him to share some of his tips, some of his strategies because I like to see people successful and I like to see people who have success share because you know what they say, sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. And I like to see people do good, man. When I hear people doing bad, it tugs at my heartstrings. And back to the conversation at hand, it's a bittersweet thing, man. You seeing people that you haven't seen in a while, but it's at a funeral or at a hospital, and it's like, man, I've been meaning to see you. I've been meaning to get together with you, but man, it took this to bring us together, and it's like that's one of the moments to where it's bittersweet. Like, man, I've been so busy, I've been working. I've been trying to do my little side hustle. I've been trying to get my mental straight. I've been trying to do all types of things just to stay on track, but I haven't been able to connect with the people I know and love. So here we are. And I'm feeling happy, but then again, I'm sad. I'm grieving because we done lost somebody. And I don't know about y'all, but it seemed like recently a lot of people been passing, and it's like it's right at your front step. People that I grew up with. I want to give a shout out to Frida Edmonds. I grew up with her, been in school with her, been knowing her all my life, and I heard she passed away, and it was like, man, it was touching because I didn't hear she was sick or nothing like that, and it was just out the blue. You hear about these, George Foreman and a whole bunch of other people, related, family, friends, and it's like they pass, and it's almost seemed like it's at a accelerated rate. And it's like, man, what's going on out here? You ain't even get to meet up and talk and kick it and connect with some of these people until you go to the funeral. And me, I'm not a big funeral person, man. When it hurt, like, man, it be shaking my soul. You know, I go to the funeral, it put me in a funk, and I'm quite sure it do that to other people. But it be like, man, it really do something to me. So sometimes, I find every excuse in the book not to go because it be hurting me, and that might be a selfish thing, but man, it is one of them things. And it's like, I just wanted to tap in because, I ain't know if everybody else felt the same way. If everybody else was going through the same thing, you got family, they ain't getting together like they should, and we making plans to meet up and, get together every so often, but people get to working, trying to do overtime to put some food on the table, trying to stay afloat, keep their head above water, going into the grind mode. And you look up, a year done got by you. You ain't talk to nobody. And it's like, man, you running into this and that, and they running into this and that, and it's like you never connect. You never connect until you gotta connect. And it's like such a a heartbreaking moment because you hugging people, you seeing people, and then you mourning and grieving at the same time. And some people, they grieve differently. Some people they could move past it and keep themselves busy and try to work there. And some people just shut them down. It shut them down like onyx. So I just wanted to tap into that because you work so much, you do so much, and the older I get, the more mature I get, the more serious things are because you start getting older, ain't nobody taking care of you like mama and them. You can't tap nobody, ain't nobody to go to for help. You the help. You done at a younger age you was able to go here and there for help. Now people coming to you for help, so you the last line of defense. And when you the last line of defense, you got to be steady and consistent. So you go into work mode, you working hard. Can't you can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. You can't stop. So you got to keep going and it's no days off. So in the mix of that, man, I like to work out and stuff myself. I haven't worked out in since 2017, 18. That was the last time I really worked out because I've been so busy going through the ups and downs of life. I had a business and it fell through. So, at that point I had to file for bankruptcy and all that stuff. All my financials was upside down. So, I'm just trying to keep a roof over my head and food in our stomach and crawl my way back up out this hole. And it's like in the middle of that, you almost like you can't come up for air because every step you on a tightrope. And you ain't trying to slip and fall all the way off. So you scratching and clawing and you ain't got time to look up. Next thing you know, that happened in 2018. Here it is, 2025. It's 7 years later, and now you just starting to stick your head above water. So I know I ain't the only one to go through stuff like that. I know everybody does. And I just wanted to tap in and get into that because, sometimes we could lose focus on what really matters, the connections we got, the loved ones we got. Like, what are we doing it for if we just turn to robots? If we just on go mode all the time and we focused and we zoned in, you gotta find a balance. You gotta find a balance. You gotta find a balance. And me sometimes I go a little too hard because I get caught up in the rhythm and the routine of it. And I turn around, it's a couple years done got by me. And that ain't no good thing. That ain't no good thing at all. So, I just wanted to talk about this. And I want to touch in on a situation like with my grandmoms on my mother's side. You know, Minnie, Burroughs, Mimi DeLeon, you know, um, I loved her. She was a main part of our life coming up. The reason that I'm in Virginia now is because of her. She moved to Virginia. My mother followed her. We here. So, summertime, she was a constant fixture in my life. Um, I didn't even know how much I loved it till I couldn't. She wasn't there to love anymore. And it was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was incarcerated. And I didn't even know she was sick at all. I had 60 months to do for a 924C. That's a possession of a firearm and furtherance of drug trafficking. If y'all don't know, mandatory 60-month sentence. I could have got more, but I wind up tapping out. It wasn't a conspiracy case. Just me by myself. Oh man, it's hot in here. So, talking about this to warm me up, y'all. And it's around 2000, I would say 2012. I call home and my mom, she crying on the phone. She can't even keep her composure together. She hand my uncle the phone. And my uncle was like, man, you just calling, you ain't nobody tell you. I'm like, tell me what? Your grandma did. And I'm like, and that's his mother. So, I know they taking it terribly, him and my mom. I'm like, no, ain't nobody. She was sick and, she had cancer. And I was like, I'm in here. I try to keep in tune, but Nobody told me anything. I guess, I'm in locked up. They trying to, spare my feelings, hoping that, they could get past. And, my grandmother would write me time to time, but oh man, like, I didn't know. I'm doing time. I'm doing time. I'm trying to, find my way up out of this dark situation. But, I don't even know what's going on. So he telling me this, and she was sick. Her husband was sick, Arthur, and she got sick, and she passed away, and it was like I didn't even know she was sick. So, I was flabbergasted. I was taken aback. I didn't know what was going on, and it was like, man, I got off the phone. I was in a daze, and I just kept doing my time, and I was just like, I was just doing the time. I ain't cried. I just was like, I was trying to process. Really couldn't. My grandma did. And then one day, like 2 weeks later, my counselor, he sat me down. I don't know if he just seen me going through the motions and was observing me from afar, but he pulled me in his office. He was like, I just wanted to talk to you because, I know your grandmother passed away, and, I ain't even know they keep tabs on you and stuff like that. I don't know if they was listening to the call, but I don't know how they know. And, in that moment, just hearing them say it, I broke down and started crying right in his office because it's like a ton of bricks. I didn't get a chance to process or grieve because I was just going through the motions, and it was like it hurt. It hurt so bad because now right in front of me, everything just popped in my face. The summertime we spent over her house, the kisses, just she used to talk to me all the time, and you don't even you take it for granted. You don't even notice it because it's just a part of your life. And it was just like she gone, grandma gone. She was the first person that, told me how to be an entrepreneur. She had her rose shop right here in Newport News, Virginia, in Pellis Village. It was Mimi DeLen's Floral Designs. And, in the summer times on the weekend, she'll load us up with buckets of roses. We'll go door to door to sell them. She'll tell us how much they cost and be like, whatever you make extra off that, you just bring me back what it costs, and the rest is yours. That could be your money for your pocket. So it was like all that she instilled in us, all the conversations, all the hugs and kisses, and I didn't even know I loved her that much until she was gone. And it smacked me, and I couldn't stop crying. He had to give me some help and all that stuff, talk to me, console me. And in the moment, you try to be tough in jail. You don't want to see nobody see you vulnerable. But at that moment, I didn't even care because it came right down on me. And it's like, in those type of moments, man, you're grieving, you lose touch. And I wanted to bring that back to a full circle because, we working so hard out here, we losing touch. And then in the time of our grieving, we get to see the people we know and love. And like in that small moment, you're like, man, we need to not be so distant. And, to grieve and bring you together, that moment, this tragical moment brought us together. And, sometimes you ain't even y'all ain't gonna see each other because you still in the mix. But it's a moment that you had. I just wanted to share that because, it was a deep touching moment just seeing her being alive 100 years and just thinking about my grandmother. And then when I had that conversation with my cousin Tina, she was like, it was sometimes you had a moments. So, it was, I had a conversation with, C. Terrell Scott, Christopher Terrell Scott afterwards. And, while we was watching that, they were showing the Ukraine on TV. And it was just people laid out in the streets that got attacked in the bombing, and it was like, sheesh. And he was like, man, they just. And I said, hold on, we gonna stop there. We gonna have compassion for the people that's laid out. We got to, regardless of what you think the propaganda is. Them people is no longer here, and we can't get stuck in that moment where we ain't compassionate. People making those type of decisions that's rich, powerful, the manipulators of the masses, and we can't be like them. That's their narrative. That's not our narrative. We righteous as a people. Like when I see somebody hurting, I had empathy for them. You should. If you don't, you need to recalibrate and get in tune with yourself. You need to have that emotion because you can't be sitting out here moving like, you know, sociopathically. You can't do that. You can't do that. It don't hurt. It don't help you. It don't help your family. And a lot of people that got money, they separate. What Jesus say? The wealthy getting into heaven is like a camel walking through the eye of a needle, passing through the eye of a needle, and it's like that's because sometimes to get materialistic things of this world, you gotta sacrifice people. You got to sacrifice and hurt the people in order to get the materialistic things, the treasures of this earth. And it's like some people they know this because every time you gain at the other opposite end of that is usually somebody suffering. Like you're going through the ups and downs. Like when the real estate market crash, it's some people losing their homes, losing everything they got, and some people getting rich off of it. So when you prosper, sometimes when you prosper, it's somebody on the other end of that that's suffering. And some people just they remove themselves from that and they disassociate themselves from that because I gotta do for self. I gotta worry about me and mine. And it's like that's why that message was passed because sometimes you could lose sight. You could lose sight trying to get it in this world, and you know you could get out of touch. And that's what I wanted to bring this around to, because sometimes we get out of touch trying to do us, trying to live our lives to the point to where we only coming together at funerals, y'all. And like I say, it was good to see you, but I'm sorry it was under these circumstances. So I just wanted to tie that in. I ain't want to hold you long, but I did want to give you something strong. So you know what? I'm about to wrap it up, y'all. And y'all know this has been another session. This Let's Get To It, and that's a tour with you because I always got you in mind. So if you don't mind, let me break it down for you. I broke it down for you. Because at the end of the day, it's all for you. It's really all for you. And y'all my go-getters. Y'all know what that is. And y'all know I'm King Sam the Powerful, the biggest hater this side of Texas. Y'all know me to talk reckless. Y'all know me to bring y'all the truth. So if you can't handle the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Matter of fact, y'all can't handle the truth. So court is adjourned. My case is closed. I want to give a big shout out. I want to give a shout out to Sunrise Kitchen, Bath, and Closets. You know, they got 3 locations. Y'all know where they at. They in Hampton, Virginia Beach, and Chesapeake. They're making the process of home remodeling simple, transforming your home. I want to give a shout out. Y'all see my haircut. Keep me crispy clean. Shout out to 368 Denby Boulevard, Elise Pro. I want to give a shout out to Mario Button. He doing this thing. I want to give a shout out to Jamal Bryan. He doing this thing. Y'all check these people out, man. I'm shouting them out for a reason. Then, I got another interview. Hold on. Then a shout out to C. Terrell Scott. Of course, of course. Then, I got another person I want to start bringing up here. She could share her story. She's an entrepreneur, Kim. And hopefully I could bring this all together. But, I'm about to wrap it up, man. I enjoyed y'all company. I hope y'all enjoy mine and these words, man. I'm out of here, man. I tap in with y'all next time.